Who are these people? That's a new character I'm working on called Seinfeld with Dementia. Who are these people? You guys like it? Welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. It's your host, Matt Heath. How you doing, folks? This is a pretty special episode of the 1000 Comics Podcast because it was not recorded at my home base, the Centennial Apartment Building. It was recorded in West Hartford at the Standup Underground at the Elbow Room. Me and Paul Gregory had the whole place to ourselves. We went in one day on a Monday when it was closed, and we just set up a table on the stage in the comedy club, and it was the first ever episode of the show recorded on stage in a comedy club. So that's kind of cool. And it was with Paul Gregory, the guy that runs the Stand-Up Underground, runs the Elbow Room. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. The reason I had him on was because he was kind of the brains behind the operation of the Ha-Ha's for the Holidays fundraiser and having the donations go towards SMA. So we're going to get into that. But before we do a little ad read, you've probably heard a lot about cannabidiol, or CBD, but have you heard about the plant science company taking the lead in providing the highest quality CBD nationwide? At your CBD store Simsbury, you will find a fantastic staff that creates a comfortable environment where you can get your questions answered and find the right products to get the relief you need. They will be your number one source for providing quality education about products for you and your pet. They offer a full line of edibles, creams, USDA certified oils, and more, all developed under the guidance of their PhD analytical chemists and health leaders across the industry. And to back up their story, they also provide extensive third-party testing to ensure what is listed on the products is actually in the products. They are located at 1243 Hot Meadow Street in Simsbury and open 7 days a week. Give them a call at 860-217-1433. Visit their website, ycbdsimsbury.com, or stop in for free samples and the highest quality products you can find. Your CBD store Simsbury, where good health hits home. Great place to get some CBD if you want to get CBD as a gift for Christmas. I would hit that place up. CBD store Simsbury. Great sponsor, great store. Hit them up. Hit them up. Also, just a little word from a hero of mine. I'm gonna say. I'll go as far to say a hero of mine.
Hey everybody, Danny Woodburn here, aka Mickey Abbott from Seinfeld. You all remember me. I stood in for Punky Brewster when you was nothing. Whew, that was a long time ago. I had another flashback to that little mishap at Coleman's 25 years ago. Anyway, it's that time of year, my friend. It's time for Ha-Ha's for the Holidays fundraiser, hosted by none other than Matt Heath, headlined by Santa. Yes, Santa will be there. And sorry to disappoint, I'm not showing up in costume. It'll be Thursday, December 3rd, 8 p.m., Stand-Up Underground at the Elbow Room. Everybody be there. In case you don't know where it is, it's in West Hartford. As you probably say, West Hartford. Anyway, proceeds will go to help cure SMA, Spinal Muscular Atrophy, and there's also going to be a toy drive for kids in need. So, dress appropriately, bring toys appropriately. All right, enjoy. That's December 3rd, 8 p.m., Stand-Up Underground at the Elbow Room. Ha-Ha's for the Holidays fundraiser. Be there, everybody.
All right, so you heard it straight from the guy that plays Santa's little helper in pretty much every Christmas movie. You should come to this Christmas show. I guess without further ado, This is my interview I did with Paul Gregory at Standup Underground on the stage in the comedy club. Enjoy. And welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. I'm sitting here with Paul Gregory.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
I'm
Great to be here.
real excited to finally be doing something like this. This is different. This is something we're playing to a Facebook audience for our fundraiser, and we're playing to my YouTube crowd. So we got two completely different worlds. A brand new experience for the 1000 Comics Podcast, and I'm glad. Thank you so much for letting us use the elbow room to do such a thing.
Of course.
And we did this for a specific occasion. The Ha-Ha's for the Holidays fundraiser we're doing. And that's this Thursday, 8 p.m. And the reason I'm having you on is because you specifically you kind of had the idea of us to do a fundraiser for SMA.
Right.
Correct. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about SMA, because not everybody knows why we decided to do a fundraiser for SMA. Because we did, but before the fundraiser we did before this for our friend John James,
Right.
a comedian, a local comedian here. We raised some money for his medical bills for chemo, and that was an ultra successful show that we did.
Really good.
It was really fun. It was a Ghostbusters themed comedy show. We sold it out right here on this stage, and then we had the idea to do this for SMA.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great cause. I mean, you have the Toys for Tots, and it's it's a seasonal, obviously, show for now. I mean, so what better way to do a fundraiser than to incorporate the Toys for Tots and SMA is so. For people who don't know what SMA stands for, it's Spinal Muscular Atrophy.
Correct.
So SMA is a congenital condition. It's the number one infant killer, actually. I believe it's standard for all pregnant women can get tested now for SMA. So that's been a new sort of milestone in the SMA community. So that's been really, really awesome to know about. It's basically, SMA is sort of in the muscular dystrophy family. It's not necessarily the same thing, but it's similar in the fact that it's congenital, that it's found in it's basically a lack of or weakness of an SMN1 protein. Not to get too, much into the chemistry of it. But it's actually one out of 32 people are carriers of SMA. So it's actually fairly common to be a carrier.
Really?
Of SMA, right? So
people that don't have health insurance
right.
might be carrying it and not even know it, right?
Right. You could. So basically, if you're mostly more importantly for women, if you're pregnant or you're looking to have children in the future or something people are planning for. They amongst all of the other things that they can test you for, like Down syndrome and sickle cell and all of those sort of like congenital characteristics. SMA is now standard in testing, but if for some reason it doesn't come up with your doctor, you can have it done and included without having to pay for it now with most healthcare plans. So don't quote me on that. But yeah, like I said, so it's 1 out of 32 people are carriers. So. And it's near to me. It touched my family. My oldest son has SMA. There's different types of it, so he would be considered more of like a type 2. He's 12, going on 13 in December. So, and it does not affect your cognition in any way. So, people with SMA live normal lifespans. I know a woman has 2 children that don't have SMA, so she gave birth to 2 children without SMA, believe it or not. She works a job. people can live some really active lives, and they're getting very close to a cure. I should say that cautiously, but optimistically. So, for example, my son just underwent a therapy called Spinraza at Hartford Healthcare. So he has his doctor, his SMA doctor there.
I don't mean to interject
go
with
ahead,
something
Dave.
weird here, but
Sure.
that sounds like a fun thing. Spinraza.
Spinraza. It's like a festival or something. It's like a yeah. So actually, it's basically it's done through. He had to have all these treatments for years. Basically, he had to have. It's not an IV. It's I forget the medical term, but it's basically a spinal injection, and he did that for years, and it works really well. So anybody out there in the SMA community, if you're not aware of Spinraza, ask your doctor about it. Try to get into that treatment plan. Most insurances will cover that now. It works really well. It's worked. We've had a lot of success for it. And even better news is they've just switched that now to a daily by mouth tablet that you take like a vitamin. So he no more spinal injections or anything like that.
Wait, so it went from injection to tablet?
To a tablet.
Like
to
that seems like a
multivitamin.
complete 180 of
Right.
of things to
Right.
take as medicine.
So people with SMA have a very weak SMN1, which is your motor neuron gene. And I'm going to paraphrase a lot about what SMA is because I'm not a doctor. So forgive me.
Okay,
If
we're not expecting you to be a doctor
if
here on
anybody
this
out
podcast.
there is listening,
but so far you've been a great spokesman.
all
for
right,
it.
good. I'll do my best. I'm a parent of SMA, so I'll put it in layman's terms because that's all that I can be. So, but yeah, so basically, it's somebody that either has deletions of their SMN1 genes, or they have very weak or low copies of that gene. And so what Spinraza does is it treats those copies and makes those copies work better. So I probably drifted off on a whirlwind here with that, but what I can say
this is why we're doing it on the SMA Facebook
it's so
page
important.
here.
Just the point to drive home is they're so close to a cure for this. They're working on gene splicing and all of that, sort of more going in the route of genetic therapy and things, which are on the rise, a little more controversial, but it's on the rise, becoming more widely accepted, within the healthcare system and things like that. So these people at curesma.org, which is the sort of the site that we're, sort of touting at this point to try to have people make their donations to, do so much for families of SMA and so much towards working towards a cure, and they're very close. So donations really can propel this thing at this point.
So you could donate if you'd like to donate out there on Facebook. Right here on this page, you could click the donate button, and you could donate whatever you want: $2, $5. If you donate $20 or more on this page specifically, though, you get put on the guest list for this Ha-Ha's for the holiday show. That's this Thursday here at the Elbow Room, 8 p.m. Great comics that are going to be on it. Mm-hmm. We got Cliff Mula.
Yep.
We got Mega Harrison.
Yep.
We got Dan Brown. We got Mo Green. And we got Rex Caesar as Santa Claus.
Oh, great.
Santa Claus is going to be the headliner of this show. So we're looking forward to that.
That's a fun time. I mean, if you're looking for something to do for a good cause this time of year, it's safe. It's socially distanced. We're CDC compliant. With the showroom here.
and that's we can't stress that enough that we are complying with the rules of COVID. Correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd like to say everything is extra sanitized, but it's a restaurant here that we have. It's a comedy club. A lot of places are doing that. Should be doing that stuff anyway. Mm-hmm. But the biggest factor is we're limiting our capacity to about 30 people in our showroom. We've distanced the tables. It doesn't mean you can't sit in a small group of people that you know, but it means if you're not with someone that you know, or you come by yourself, or you're coming in a separate group, you do have that space here in the showroom from other people. So we're taking it very seriously. We want everybody to feel safe when they're here. We have table service provided. one way in, one way out. We're fully compliant with all of the CDC recommendations and guidelines. So.
And so how long have you been running this place, Paul?
So that's a good question. Actually, we don't really. It's been sort of like piecemealed at this point, right? I mean, it's in January of 2019. We celebrated technically our first year here.
Okay.
Actually having this room of having the actual Standup Underground Comedy Club. And then the shutdown happened in March. And we reopened the club back in October. So we're sort of this January going on year 2, although it hasn't been a full 2 years. You know what I mean? So we're hoping at this point just to make it through the month.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Buying tickets for the show and having an audience will not only keep the comedy club going, but it will also help keep the restaurant doors open. So if people are looking for some place to support that's trying to do some things that are good for the community, and you'll have fun at the same time, it's worth your money. We feel like we've got a pretty good offer at this point to get people out and do that.
Oh my God! Yeah, Paul, I love your candor, sir.
I feel like we're on an infomercial right now.
Well, we could make it lighten the mood a little bit. Let's actually go way back to when you started comedy.
Yeah.
What year did you start doing stand-up comedy?
I'm 38 now, so I think I guess it's been about 5.5 years. So probably somewhere.
It had to be longer than that, though. I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 21, and I'm 29 now.
Yeah.
And I believe I met you either the first year I started doing comedy or the second year.
I mean, I would say that I'm probably close to 6 years. But again, if your timeline as a comic is sort of foggy at times.
Where was your first time on stage?
My first time on stage was at Joker's Wild, actually.
Was I there that night? Do you remember?
Yeah, you were there. I remember. You did the Dave Coulier bit. So
that's a bit I haven't done in a while.
It was unforgettable. It was no, but that was where I got started. Not only got started performing, but I think that was the first time I was really exposed to any comedy club. That was the first comedy club I had ever set foot into.
Yeah.
That
place just had the smell of a comedy club.
You know what I mean? Everything that you didn't want and wanted at the same time, which I'm kind of working towards here. So it's great.
I think it's like it's kind of like the comedy club that you would like imagine in your head, like before. If you had never been in a comedy club before, right. I think Joker's Wild kind of fit the imagination.
Yeah, it was sort of the epitome
club.
of like a city club for sure. I think the closest that we could get to, and then later, you go to New York or things like that, and you start to realize, that it fit the mold more of something in the city, but not the marquee club, or not sort of that doesn't have that commercial feel. I loved it because I could see that there were a lot of people like me there.
Right.
There were a lot of comics that were just getting started.
Really hacking away.
Right, hacking, grinding. It was raw. I loved that about it.
Yeah, you had those little booths in the corner there, where it's like the disgruntled writers were all kind of sat there and wrote.
And I did the thing that I think a lot of comics should do, where before I even performed, I just went and hung out. I went and hung out, and I worried a lot about getting on, and then totally worked myself up, I think, for an open mic, and knees shaking, waiting to go on. It was probably 30th to go on. And then by the time I got on stage, there was nobody.
And now you're the dude that all those open micers that were once you're the dude that those guys suck up to.
That's true, yeah. That's right. That they all care about my Thanksgiving. It's great.
How was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
It was good. I
should have started with that.
Let everybody know my Thanksgiving was fine, and my family is safe and doing well.
Okay.
And then they can just ask for a spot. That would be great. As I get so many now of, I hope this message finds you well and your family is happy, and may I have a spot, And I'm like, I've never met you, but I appreciate the gesture. I appreciate the concern for the family. So yeah, it comes with it, I guess. It's kind of a position I love being in, as far as having sort of the space and sort of providing the space for performance and comedy. But
There's actually a joke I wrote on Thanksgiving. I think this may be kind of off kilter for a fundraiser show, but something that I just couldn't get out of my head was, I don't understand why they give away uncooked turkeys on Thanksgiving to the less fortunate, because you're gonna give the people that are too lazy to get jobs the hardest meal to cook.
the longest meal to cook, the longest and most patient.
No, I mean that might be sound evil, but here's my thing:
You're saying the
give
least
away,
ambitious people.
cook somebody a meal and give it away. You know what I mean?
Cook it for them and give it to them.
Yeah,
Like if they had that kind of ambition in the first place to cook the turkey,
exactly.
they probably wouldn't be there accepting it. Yeah, that's a very, that's gonna get us in trouble. I feel like that's a very a lot of people out there are like, F you right now.
I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with my dad on Thanksgiving, and he had never seen that movie. Can you believe that? He'd never seen...
I mean, I saw it. It's been so long.
Oh, my... That's a Thanksgiving classic, though. I want to watch it every year.
Yeah.
Because I think it completely encapsulates that the only thing a man has to do on Thanksgiving... Women have to cook the dinner, but the only thing a man has to do is show up.
Right.
And the amount of effort these two just put into showing up...
Right.
And that's the whole movie.
Yeah, we're in a different, I don't know, it's a different time now, I guess. In my house, I actually cook the turkey.
You did?
I do.
Yeah. You carve the turkey yourself?
I carve it, but I cooked it.
You cook it, you carve it?
Yeah, I prepped it, I cook it, and that's so that we don't argue about it. That's really, because there's an argument. I'm one of those people, I know how to cook too, so I can go in and I can see... if I just come in and I just ask one question, then the whole meal, it's like, here, you fucking do it now. That's it. No, I was just asking. No, it's yours. So I came in early. Turkey went in. It was in the oven for about 10 minutes. I asked one question, and that was it. It was my job.
What else do you make besides the turkey? Now I'm curious.
So we did really good this year. We had homemade cranberry sauce. It was a maple bourbon cranberry sauce.
My family always does the cranberry sauce straight out the can. It has to still have the form. My dad will only eat it if it's like in the form of a can. And you can get like a slice of the cranberry sauce.
You slice it on the can lines
Yes.
right there. That's it, yeah. Yeah, that's what I always had. So we actually tried a homemade version, and it was really good. And then we did like green beans and shaved almonds, and we did the mashed potatoes, and we did what else did we do? A turkey. Mm-hmm. She bought a turkey with no legs, so that was why I made a comment. Turn it over, and I was like, where are the goddamn legs on this thing?
I'm actually kind of disgusted by turkeys because they can reproduce asexually. I'm like,
I didn't know that.
That's what we want to eat, is an animal that reproduces the same way as like a snake or an amoeba.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and turkeys aren't great to cook because they're such a lean bird. They're so muscular that's why, like, the second it's so hard to have.
They're an abomination of nature, and I will not stand for people eating them.
And they clearly look like they're still half a dinosaur. Like they're prehistoric looking.
Yeah.
It's creepy to still think that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they kill the turkeys, but I would imagine it's somewhat of a fight. Because I feel like you got to really go in there with some force and some ammunition, because the claws on those things.
Well, my mother told me a story of my grandfather getting a live turkey one year for Thanksgiving, and he said she said he took it down to the basement, cut off its head, and it ran around the basement with its head cut off for a good couple minutes before it dropped. So I'm telling you, abomination of nature.
Yeah, it's not normal. It's not normal for that. Yeah. Didn't die a good death.
Anyways, back to let's
We
go
getting any-
let's
we
go
got
back
one-
again to Joker's Wild.
Oh.
Oh, turn that off, Paul. You're ruining the
gonna
audio
ruin it.
here.
I'm gonna ruin
We
it.
can't listen to the podcast as we record the podcast. We're derailing very quickly.
I don't know how to turn it off. God damn it.
Just turn off your phone.
Stop it. Stop it.
Really professional.
There it is. Perfect.
Okay, good.
All right, screw it. Nobody's watching.
They're going to listen later. This is all. People listen to my podcast, Paul. And
That's
I'm telling
good.
you, people
I
on
was
the
wondering.
scene are going to listen to this episode.
Get more coffee. That's all. You need a touch up there? You need a warm up?
Yeah, just a little bit there. Thank you. So, who booked you on? Who do you remember? Who booked you on your first show back then?
Oh God, I think I don't know if it was Pat Oates who actually booked me, but it was just a Thursday showcase that they used to run there.
Right.
I had a 5-minute spot, and I mean, and for me, I thought that was going to be the best thing. I had made it. That was it. It was the most ridiculous thing to think at the time.
But at the same time, it's like that's if you're really in love with what you do, which is comedy, like if you're in love with like that is a big deal for it.
It was a
for
big,
you,
but it was
you know?
a big deal for me, and then nobody else cared, and that was when I really learned that how this sort of worked a little bit. You know, where I had worked the mic, I had showed up, at the mic a bunch of times and sort of shown my support on the weekends and things. And I had probably 2 minutes of material.
Right.
And they were nice enough to give me 5.
Yeah.
And I went up and I had a set, and it was, I remember it was.
You remember some of your first jokes?
I remember some of my first jokes. I'm still doing those jokes. That's how bad things are going right now. But yeah, I still do one of them. That's the worst. I haven't come that far. But it's no. I remember like it didn't go bad and it didn't go well, and it was exactly what it should have been, which was nobody remembered anything, including me. So that was.
I remember you, Paul. You know what? I remember something specific that you said to me back then, and I remember I went through like a terrible breakup, like in that time, that Joker's kind of time period. And I remember I was drinking the hard liquor, the whiskey.
As you should.
I was on the whiskey pretty hard back then, and I was crying at the bar or something. And you came up to me and you said, you were like, how old are you, man? I was like 21, 20, 22, however old I was. And you were like, yeah, and you just broke up with your girlfriend? Like, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, we were together for like a year. And you were like, man, I can't even remember any of the girls I dated when I was 21. Like,
that's right.
you're years from now, you're not even gonna think about that. But it's like years from now is now, and back then it's like you're right. I don't really think about that. I remember that conversation,
right?
But I don't really. That it's like time heals all wounds. You know what I mean?
Well, it does too, and you grow up and you actually experience real, relationships later on as you get older. When when you're young and you're in the moment, it is the worst thing that ever happened to you, and then you get to live a little more, and then way worse things will happen to you, and that will no longer be the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
And put it in perspective for you, But, if you're 21 and you're crying over a girl and you just, it was semi-serious and it ruined your life at the moment, I don't think you're wrong. That's, because it's like when my 10-year-old son has a problem that's happening with, in his life, it is the worst thing that ever happened to him because that's how much he hasn't experienced.
Right.
So I sort of empathize with that. But at the same time, it's, it's good to encourage some people and go, don't worry. it'll get worse. It'll much worse. Oh, she won't be the one that you'll be crying about. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're like,
there'll be another one.
You're like, did you have to sign divorce papers or anything like that?
It's like, do you have any kids? That's always, if I find out anybody even had a divorce now, if they're like, I know people that are my age and they're getting divorced and they're upset about it, but they don't have kids. And I'm like, if you're married and you don't have kids and you get a divorce, that's not a divorce. You broke up. That's all that is.
Yeah, because there's never an end. There's never an end to a breakup when you have kids.
I had divorced and had kids.
You're right.
That's like quitting a job and going back to it every day. From that, you know what I mean? Like it's still having to go back there. That's it. Only you don't get paid anymore now. You have to pay them to keep showing up. You know, so it puts it in perspective.
You know what I like about you, Paul? It's like you have like the genuine dadness of like as of like a Jim Gaffigan.
Uh-huh.
But then like you have like the observational like absurdity of like a George Carlin. It's almost like a hybrid of the two.
I feel like because half the time you're leading a double life. You know, like when you're parenting, you're a completely different person at home, you know, around your kids. I mean, now some of my kids are getting a little bit older, so I can sort of have some more provocative conversations with them, and it's fun. And I show them some stand up, and they like it and they get it, and,
right?
You know, and it's fun now to sort of joke with them and sort of bring out some observations.
Now, when you show your kids stand up, do you only go for like kid like appropriate stand up, or who?
I don't know. There is kid appropriate stand up that I would
right,
but
I mean, there's clean guys like Brian Regan, or
but
you can't go to Bill Cosby anymore, man. Like,
right. For me, I think like Brian Regan's still just stand up. You know, to me,
right?
Whether it's Brian Regan or
have you ever seen Brian Regan live though?
I have not.
You should see him live, and then you realize it's like, wow, this guy is a whole nother level because people just bring their entire family when they go see Brian Regan.
I think that that's a whole to work that long and be that successful and be clean, whatever that is now. I mean, I make sure that I point that out to the kids. It's fun to have that conversation because I still show them Dave Chappelle and Louis and Bill Burr and those, and they get to sort of see that contrast between those different types of performers and those acts. And they get it. They're getting older now and they sort of get it. And they understand that what's clean and what's unclean has nothing to do with being dirty, really. It's about the writing. It's about the approach that the performer takes towards their act. It's how they want to convey their message.
You know what I was actually just talking to somebody about today? It's like, what is dirty today will always be clean by comparison to tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, I just started watching that cartoon series.
Maybe. I feel like that could be, we could be seeing a reversal with that, though.
Really? Here's where I think that, though. Did you ever watch that cartoon series Big Mouth?
No.
It is so absurdly dirty.
So much cartoons.
It's so absurdly dirty, though.
I'm 38 with kids.
That it makes South Park look tame by comparison.
My kids, I put cartoons on. I don't watch them. That's the difference between you and me.
If you put Big Mouth on for your kids, though, on Netflix, I'm telling you, you will turn around and go, oh, shit. What did I just put on
and
for
I
my
put
kids?
stuff, like, they like The Simpsons and they like Family Guy, and that's cool. So the young girl, the 2 and the 5-year-old just like it for the cartoon, effect, and the boys like it because they kind of get some of the jokes, They don't really get all the jokes, but they'll know, like, that was dirty. I don't know why, but that was dirty, and I'm going to laugh at it. So, but yeah, most of the time if there are cartoons on in my house, it's because I need something to do.
It's a pacifier for your kids.
I got to get some shit done.
And you actually get no joy out of it.
We're not all hanging out watching it together.
Cartoons are like a joke machine, man.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
the Simpsons throws more jokes at you than any stand-up comedian
absolutely.
can. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's totally great. I love it.
You're like, oh God. You're
I
like,
love that, but I just don't have time for TV. So, yeah.
Well, now it's like now the TV is helping you raise your kids. So
Yeah,
it's
of
like,
course. That's
you're,
what it should.
now we're
It
talking
should.
about like another parent that's in your
It
house.
should, absolutely. It has a responsibility to its audience. Whether it's a child, and they should raise it. They should know that people are using that to pacify their children, and then they should do a good job entertaining those kids. Because if they do, then they'll stay seated, and I can get my shit done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, then do it. Just do it right.
I mean, do you think being a parent really like makes you like as a comic makes you a realist? Right? Immediately makes you a realist towards the business end of things.
I don't know. I mean, you mean like the business sort of like as far as like running a club or running a show or just sort of.
I mean, just the whole mentality to even like I got to start. I'm going to run my own club and like you know what? Here's a question for you. How did you think to start running a club? Like, what was that whole process like?
I don't think I ever thought to run a club. I thought to run a show, which we did. We began a show in the other side of the banquet room down in this restaurant. And at that point, I had run a few shows, at different places. But just weekly stuff here and there, no big deal. But I love the location of this place, just here in West Hartford. But we started in that other room, which is a much smaller room, and it went well. And it was just one of those things where it was like, well, I mean, it's going well. Why don't we try it on a weekend? Why don't we do it more? And then we did a little more, and I said, well, it was going well, and I think we need a bigger space. So we came over here and found this, and it was like, well, can we get enough people in here? That it would make sense to keep it? And the owner was kind enough to give me a chance to do that. I said, I think I could get some more people. I think we can make this really a thing. But that was also the help of all of these guys. All of these guys that, the Ish Gupta and the Mo Musa and Joe Begley and Mo Green and Cliff Mula and Alex Tomaselli, all of our regulars that are still here today. It was a collective effort I could have, all I did was show up with the equipment.
Right.
And and stuff, but these guys really believed, I think, in this place. And maybe I liked, a little bit in me, which was nice. But it was really it's been the support of the comics that really believe, I think, in this space to keep it going. So, because we have run on fumes for so long, it's been fumes. We haven't really had not a real. It was basically, the owner is saying, "I'm going to give you the space, and good luck," So,
but I think you even have to look at still hanging on as a major success. I mean, even some of like the greatest comedy clubs are shutting down like during this pandemic. But like we lost like Dangerfields in New York,
And I think too, though, they're all it's circumstantial. I mean, clubs in New York now at this point that are mostly probably filled with tourists. And tourism is such a driving factor for their business at this point. I don't think, I'm sure they still have people that are locals and people that really hang at those places a lot and invest in it. But I don't think it's like it was in the '80s or '90s when those places opened up like the old Improv and stuff, and it was the general public. It was New Yorkers that kept the comedy clubs sort of, going at that point.
Right.
New Yorkers that wanted to go out for the night, that didn't have a plan, that said, hey, there's this thing called stand-up that's happening a lot. Who's there? Nobody knows, but I heard it's a lot of fun. And I think New Yorkers and the popular around the city were just going. And I think we have some of that now because it's just it's a grassroots effort. I mean, again,
I think that's actually a perfect way to say it, though, a grassroots effort. I feel like you're one of the few guys that runs the show that realize it's like, hey, if I put the local guys center stage and, like, the rest will come. Like, we could get bigger names from the outside. It's like when you have, like, that good local core, like a club can be really good.
Well, I think that's the heart of the club. I think that's the sort of the still the drum line of a comedy club in general. This is a comedy club should be a place that's, in my opinion anyway, it should be a place that works from within and grow. You know what I mean? It sort of blossoms from within outside. And the Funny Bone and the comics, and the Mohegan Sun and the Stress Fact, they're amazing clubs. You go there, they're amazing rooms. They're, you know what I mean? They're A rooms, and they're just totally, unbelievable with the stuff that they, the talent that they have there. But that's not who we are. We're a club that, we're underground, in a lot of sense, and it's a good. I feel like that's why I wanted to pick that name, was because it wasn't just the club that was underground. It was the talent that was that you were going to see here. It was kind of like, well, you're seeing somebody for the first time. It was almost like garage band like.
We are so underground that
Yes.
the guy that did the promotion for this show, Danny Woodburn of Seinfeld, did you know he was also Splinter in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No idea.
You're like, again, with the fucking
Yeah,
cartoons.
You love the cartoons. You can relate anything that anyone says to a cartoon or a John Candy movie.
Which is also, in a sense, like a cartoon.
And you're not doing that on dates, right? You're not doing.
I mean, that I do that on dates, but it's just to see if I'm.
You have a soulmate.
It's
Someone's
yeah.
gonna be like,
It's the
I
kind.
was just gonna say that, and you're gonna be like, "Holy shit, will you marry me?" All right, keep doing it, because that's the only way you're gonna find the right person.
Oh my god.
No, but I just can't say enough about the local talent. I mean, even just and when we have big, for example, Andre Kim, who
Right.
performed here a lot, Connecticut native, worked clubs here, really grinds it out, having lots of success in New York City, but still wants to come back here,
Right.
and do a weekend or do a night here. And same, we just had Colin Cook, and Colin sold out. He sold the most tickets we've sold since we've opened in October. So, when good things like that happen to those guys, and they happen here, it feel like that's what makes it sort of special for me. That's.
But I really think you got to credit the fact that it's like you run the business, but you're also a comic. I think you can see things that other people that run businesses can't.
I think you definitely see the business side of comedy, obviously, because you're doing it. You're putting that hat on a lot, and throughout the week, a lot more of you.
But is that literally your business hat
This
you're
is-
wearing,
this
the
is
one
just
that
a-
you're wearing
This
right
is a
now?
bad, because my hair is horrible. That's all this is. Because I want to grow it out one time just to see before I'm 40 how bad it's going to look. That's all. But you get to, it's a privilege to be able to see the business side of things and then approach that as a comic. And by the way, thank you for reminding everybody that I am a comic and not just an owner. Because I don't get booked ever. Anyway.
Please book Paul Gregory.
I
I said, he does have Carlin level material, man.
I know you got a bar show out there somewhere that I could get on. I know you got a backyard show. Somebody's doing something in their basement. Don't forget about me.
It's funny how the first time when I moved back from Florida to Connecticut that I saw you was not here at this club, but it was at a show we were both booked on at Matty D's.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great show, right?
It was a good show, yeah.
And you headlined that show, correct?
I think I just did a feature spot.
Oh.
I was a closer by proxy. That's all it was on that one. So I wouldn't have called it a headlining spot. So.
Right. Okay.
But it was a good time for sure. Yeah. It's when I get to do a show that's not in this room. It's like awkward for me a little bit. I panic a little more because I don't know what to do with myself because I'm just hanging out in the green room.
It's like that Rodney Dangerfield joke. I own the club, but I'm still sweating.
That's
it's
right.
weird.
Yeah, I'm sweating because I go up to somebody else's comedy club and you just want me to hang out before I go on. You don't want me to take a drink order or pass somebody there, run a quesadilla or something, so yeah, so it's weird at first to just be able to hang out. And then I sort of settled in and get used to it. I was having a good year last year, and I was getting out a lot.
Yeah.
I had done a couple.
You got to be Mitzi Shore and Pauly Shore at the same time.
That's a thought. That's a scary thought. Yeah. I think they're both bad. No, I'm kidding. Both bad options. But no, I was starting to, like a lot of comics. It's like you're moving around. You're starting to get some traction. You feel like it anyway. You're starting to get into some spaces that on a regular basis. I had done a couple theater shows, which were awesome. And then like the shutdown happens, and everybody's starting over again. So here we are. But it's a great. It's a great thing to know that anytime we sort of dust this thing off right now and go to start it up, it starts up because we've been open and we've closed and we've been open and closed, and here we are. We're open again, and who the hell knows what's going to happen next week or next month? But we know that demand is growing. The interest level seems to be there, and the club runs well. We sort of think we know what we're doing here a little bit. And, we know that if we have to stick it in the garage for a week or two or a month, we know we can go to start it back up. It'll run. So.
Who do you think, like, your heroes were, like, growing up?
In comedy?
In comedy or in general?
Well, I was very much a normal sort of athletic jockey kind of kid, so I had all the normal, the Joe Montana, the Jim Kelly, the idolizing all of the athletes of my time, and that sort of thing, and that carried for a while, and then there was always this sort of secret side of me that that was into performance, that even though I was.
Or as your dad would call it, the gay side.
The gay side of me. That I couldn't show too much. No, I couldn't. My parents were pretty supportive of anything I kind of did. I just, I think it was more my own anxiety of different things. But I even though I was a athlete in high school, I was still in the musicals. I was still, I always, and there was something more magical about that kind of stuff, about performance, than athletics for me. And I was always a little bit too insecure at that time in my life to sort of really give it a go and explore it. So for me, I really didn't get into trying things out until I was in college. That's when I did my first sort of open mic.
Oh, when you said you were trying things out in college.
Things out. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's where you really kind of got bit by the bug. There was in college.
I think I kind of did, but I had a couple friends that I played football with at the time, and they were the ones that sort of it was a typical thing. Oh, you should do stand up, dude. You got to do stand up. You should really get on. And I said, yeah. And they drugged me to an open mic, and I did it, and it was okay. Not really, but it was whatever. And they thought I was funny, and I had a good time. I thought it was great, but still pretty, too afraid to sort of. I was going to the NFL in my head. I was going to the NFL. That was sort of my thing.
Right.
Completely delusional. But I was young and stupid, and that's what you're supposed to be.
But that's the interesting thing about like being a dreamer. It's like that's what you're focused on because that's what your dream was.
Well,
like NFL. So it's like everything else is just white noise.
It was white noise. The dream was what that sort of the athletic dream was more of a. That was more really imaginary than anything else could have been in my life. That was a thing where I do. Those are my regrets. I regret not sort of attacking and getting into performance earlier because when you look back on it now, you're always you wonder. Well, gee, I always gravitated towards this. I was kind of a dork in high school, and my friends were too. And on the weekends we weren't out at the cool parties. We were home, writing, sketch comedy skits and filming them and acting them out and doing dumb things like that and blowing each other at the end. Whatever. Keeping it gay, but But it was, you look back at all these moments now, and you realize that you actually there was some stuff there that you were doing it. There was a part of you that was doing it. I didn't have to be in the school musical, but I made sure I was. Like that kind of
Right.
stuff. I
You're actually just making me think that I was actually like I auditioned for the musical in my high school senior year. I got a part, and because it wasn't the main role, and it's like I don't know, like how cocky I was as a kid to think not in theater at all
Right.
4 years of high school, to think I would get the main role, you know, and it was like just because it was the musical based on that Adam Sandler movie, The Wedding Singer.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I was gonna be they actually booked me as the character of like the guy that like chokes out the wedding or tries to choke out the wedding singer
Okay.
when he has like that little mental
Right,
breakdown
right,
on stage,
yeah.
which would have been a great character for me to play.
Sure,
but like
any character.
any character. I should have just took the ball and ran with it, but instead I was like, nah, I just want to work my after school job at CVS ringing up, old people's depends and shit.
So you were so delusional and offended at that moment because you didn't get cast as the main role that you said F it to the whole thing.
Yeah, which I really regret.
Yeah.
I do regret that.
Well, it's good that you regret it because if you didn't, you'd sort of be a narcissistic sociopath at that point.
Yeah, because like I see, I think that's the problem with like the American kind of mentality in general. It's like people will go for something like I want to be the. It's like you immediately want to be the best at something. Where it's like I think people that have never done comedy like don't realize like the pecking order of comedy. Like you start with open mics,
Right. I think it's a timing thing. I personally I don't know if I know what you're saying. I think that's America I think that's the American human today. Like I think it's a timing people's concept of time today is so different and so delusional. Somebody sits around because we have everything that we want in a nanosecond, right? I mean, we have everything, and then the longest you have to wait for something. I mean, even if you're at the you ordered your coffee at Starbucks and you're at the pickup line because they already made it when you got there, and there's two other people next to you.
Right.
You're tapping your foot. And you're going, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Right? I mean, so I think people's concept of time is just different. We see it in the restaurant all the time. People sit down at a table and then they wave you over and they go, "We've been here for 30 minutes." And you're like, "You've been here for 8." So because of the instant gratification, we call it, So I think that's what it is. People don't respect the grind of things.
Yeah.
And
but it's exactly what you were saying before with like people DMing you during your Thanksgiving dinner or whatever. Was like, why not? Like, if you want a spot at this club, why not just? It's like sure, you've been doing comedy for years, but why not just show up at an open mic and introduce yourself to you? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Why not just?
It's like the person friend requesting you on Facebook that you haven't met in person.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like and I think a lot of that is just unfortunately just social norms now. I don't think people really know what to do. I don't think they're doing it to be inappropriate. I think they just don't know what to do. So because it's so awkward for that used to happen all the time. How else did you get a job? You had to show up, right? You had to show up and you had to shake somebody's hand. You had to find somebody. Who do I talk to when I get here? And now it's just everybody doing this. Hey, I kind of think I can. Maybe if I sort of talk to this person, I'll talk to everybody.
But I think that's also like people not being proactive is also a big problem right now with people.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's like I told you, I quit drinking. It's like I've been hitting up a few AA meetings every now and then now, and I think that's a lot of with these people that I see that have like the real issues are people that are not proactive about shit. It's like I want to get a job and I keep emailing and like it's just like, well, it's like if you stop even, first of all, it's like you get the wrong approach. If you want a job, go out there and get that fucking job.
Go get a job. Go look for a job. If you don't have a job, spend 8 hours a day looking for a job. Get dressed up, put a tie on, and walk into places with your resume and shake somebody's hand and say, who do I speak to about employment?
Exactly. But it's the same. It should be the same thing with being a comedian.
It is.
Just because someone DMs you and like is polite in the DM, show up at an open mic, show up at a show, introduce yourself, like show that you're the man for the job.
Show the effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Put the effort in, show the interest in. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a sign of the times that we're in, where I think that's how people navigate sort of the business world or any world that they're in. But you're still. I think comics that have been doing this for a long enough period of time, and I hesitate to say maybe even just have a certain age or a little bit older, we grew up sort of doing that kind of thing. It depends, sort of. I think it could be a little bit of a generational thing too, but it wouldn't be happening if it didn't also work for people.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's sort of the problem of it. They're seeing other people get success, through that as well. So I think it's a sort of that's a symbiotic problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Now that it's like a norm for people to work from home,
right?
Everyone's gonna want to work from home,
right? And it's a norm to, message, just a message a club owner or somebody that's running a show.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing about it is showing up at a club when you're not booked, and I will tell you this is one thing I can say that some of these comics that around here, and I'll shout out to Vince Barry and Miles Mortali, these two guys that that are working around this area and they're here often. And there's other guys too, that I'm forgetting, but they show up. They show up when they're not booked just to support the club.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of around comedy. I think it's just that's the idea. I think that they don't get. I don't think it's.
But that's how guys like Miles Mortali ends up with a job working the door at the Stress Factory. It's
right.
It's like you're here all the time. We're gonna give you a job.
It's also how you get better. Sam Hunter's a good example of that as well. If you're around it and it's not just that you're there to be there and sort of be visible, because that's a part of it, but you're also watching guys on stage do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing a headliner do an hour of material or 5 minutes of material. We just had Nick Griffin here. You're seeing a guy that has been in comedy for 25 years, 30-minute, Comedy Central special every late night. Like, he's been doing this forever. If you're not booked tonight, come and watch him. Because then you get to watch, and I know I still do it, and I go look at my watch, and I go, oh, that's 10 minutes. Oh, he's killing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a 10. I thought I had 10 minutes. No, that's 10 minutes. That's what 10 minutes looks like, because it's airtight, and stuff. And you think he's been on forever, and you go, oh, no, it's only been 10 minutes, So I feel like that's the bigger element of hanging at a comedy club. It doesn't have to just be this one, but any comedy club, or find a show.
Yeah.
If you're not booked, go somewhere. Support it, but, watch it. You know what I mean? You should be a part of it still. And have that constant reminder that, number one, you're not there yet. And two, learn. You get to learn. To sit around, though, at anything and say, well, I'm not going to go anywhere unless I'm booked.
Totally.
That's insane.
For some reason, it pops into my head that you know why Judd Apatow is the guy that he is today? It's because when his mother worked as a waitress at a comedy club, and he was kind of like raised in a comedy club. Yeah, you know what I mean? Where it's like it's sitting around watching comedy is like pretty much the best thing you can do to start a career.
Yeah, if you're interested in that, for sure. It's like any other thing. If you want to be an athlete or something, then what would you do if you're a high school athlete? Well, go to a college game. When it's in the off season, go to hang around, be around the thing that you want to do, be around the people that you want to work with. and see what that's like. So I think it's, and I think that people aren't always privy to that now. That's all. And I think there's too many options. You're in your phone too much. You know, why go in person if I can just sit around and see it, you know, whatever later at another time? It's not the same. You know, you don't make the same connections, you know, that you get to make in person. I feel stand-up comedy is a thing I think you have to be in person for.
Totally.
You got to be in the room. You've got to be in the dark with other people that you don't know. Everybody has to smell the same bad smell, you know, the same shitty smell on the floor or whatever it is, you know, the smoke, that everyone has to go through the same thing. You feel like you're in it together. It's a very sort of cathartic experience, I think, when you go to a comedy show for people. I think they feel like they're a part of something that happened there. I feel like they leave there having gone through.
Do you think the guys that become like mega famous, like Seinfeld or Kevin Hart, do you think they lose something like that common man aspect of being a comedian? Because I feel like a big important part of being a comedian is being the common man.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like to me, I have no idea until I'm in that situation, but it seems like to me by hearing them speak and seeing those guys is that they don't really lose it that much.
Right.
I mean, you know, like I feel like those guys, a lot of them would show up at our place if they had nothing going on for whatever, you know, reason, and they have.
You hear that, Kevin Hart and Jerry Seinfeld? We're looking to have you here at the Elbow Room.
I think Chappelle wouldn't care. You know, I think if he had nothing better to do for some weird reason, I think he would show up. Same thing with, you know, Bill Burr and stuff. I don't think they lose it as much as other celebrities do.
Totally. I just listened to Bill Burr on his podcast just recently when he was in Connecticut doing shows. I made it a point to listen to his podcast to see what he's
shitting on Connecticut about.
But he was like talking about Connecticut like he wanted to leave LA and bring his family to move to Connecticut, which is like it makes sense. I mean, it's like there's giant red clouds hovering over your head there and stuff. It's like wow, it's like living like Leave It to Beaver here in Connecticut, man. It's like it's that American dream that you want, you know?
It can be for sure. I mean, for a lot of people. I mean, and then there's lots of these awful places here. Connecticut's a very strange. I grew up in New Jersey, so it's
You did?
Yeah.
Where in Jersey?
I grew up in like central Jersey, so like just outside Freehold. So they're like Bruce Springsteen country, in a small town called Hightstown. So shout out to Hightstown if anybody's listening. Hightstown, New Jersey. Very just,
Did you listen to a lot of Bruce Springsteen? You were like, I gotta get out of this.
That's right. He wanted to get out. He wanted to get out. Jersey does that to you. I don't understand it. I don't know what it is, but you spend your whole life in Jersey just trying to get out of Jersey.
Yeah.
And then when you do get out of Jersey, you just want to go back. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird. It's like somehow it gets in you.
The Italian food is just good in Jersey, right?
The food is good. The people are.
My family's from Jersey. My uncles live in like Chester and
Jersey's.
My cousin lives in Hoboken.
Yeah, North Jersey. Every part of it's sort of different, but everybody has that common sort of denominator of not wanting to be there for whatever reason. But then if you leave, you're uncomfortable. Like now, all I would want to do is go back to Jersey, for some reason. And then I know if I moved back there within like 2 months, I'd be unhappy,
right.
And I'd be trying to get out again. But there's something about it; it just pulls you, back in a lot of ways. I think it's.
My mother, who grew up in Jersey, had the same like mentality. Like she always wanted to go back to Jersey, but just for like 5 minutes. Because once you're there, you're
for like a weekend,
oh,
you hang out, and then you're like, all right, I'm ready to get out of here. It's been great.
Bruce Springsteen starts ringing in your head again.
Yeah, I want to be on the highway driving, listening to this. I really don't want to be anywhere living here right now. So I had a very modest childhood. It was a very a very typical neighborhood.
Yeah, brothers and sisters.
I have an older sister. We had a very it was lower middle class, the middle class. Some people were upper. Some, it was a very diverse community that I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
It was people from all different walks of life, and I think I don't see that as much here in Connecticut. It's unless you're sort of in the cities, but then it's not very, it's not that diverse in the cities here. But it's you get a lot more of that in Jersey, a lot more in the suburb. The suburbs in Jersey are much more diverse, than they are here in Connecticut. So for me, growing up, I never really understood that at all until I actually came to Connecticut, and I was like, oh wow, it's not really diverse here. This is like most towns are just white. Like people here, I remember I played football in college, and guys that were from Connecticut would always tell you how they knew the count of how many black people they had in their graduating class.
Oh yeah, it's like,
And I would say, I don't know.
I feel like a lot of places in this country, like Connecticut, Florida, where I lived before too, it's like they want to pretend to be diverse, but really they're segregated.
I think that for me, Connecticut fits that description a lot.
Yeah.
It claims to sort of be that, but it's not at all. I mean, let's face it. If you go to the suburbs and things, I mean, you're still counting on, there's somebody that's still keeping a tally at all times in the neighborhoods. Of like who's who, and then going, all right, that's enough. We got fill the quota.
That one white guy from Raisin in the Sun that's just like, we're just trying to keep our neighborhoods in a certain type of way.
Last I checked, white people aren't fighting their way into Hartford, and stuff. So I mean, it's but you can also do very well here. You can. It's kind of like life is whatever you make it here in this state. So. But I that's one thing I am concerned about sometimes with my kids, where I'm like, geez, they're not a very diverse class. I mean, a very diverse class, graduation photo right there. You know what I mean? So compared to mine, because race wasn't like an issue for me growing up. I had my best friends were Asian, Puerto Rican.
But they get a little older. You can let them hang out in the comedy clubs and stuff.
And I hope that they.
And then they will see diversity.
They'll see that. But if you don't grow up with it, and you learn it later, it becomes a thing that you have to sort of reckon with later. I never had to, because it was from it was from childhood. It was infused. There was no, I never went to school or my neighborhood and thought, oh, that's very diverse here. This is good. Wow, they're really mixing it up. This is nice. But so it was never, and I grew up in between New York City and Philadelphia, so two, metropolitan cities that you saw everything. So, it wasn't a thought for you about things. So, and I know that for my kids growing up here, it's going to be a thought for them. They're going to go to a place and look around and go, all right, this is interesting, this is new, this is different, and hopefully they're fine with it. But,
All right, Paul. I think we just hit an hour a few minutes ago.
Did we talk anything about that? Was anything that you needed to talk about?
It was all the stuff we're supposed to hit on.
Oh, good.
1,000 Comics podcast.
All right, perfect.
We got a little of your backstory. We talked about the show, which we could plug again real quick if you'd like to.
Yeah, get tickets now, because we've got a small room. And
all right, so before we sign off here, for our Facebook audience, if the phone's still on there, I hope it is. The Ha-Ha's for the Holidays comedy show, headlined by Santa Claus. You got Cliff Mula, you got Dan Brown, you got Meg Harrison, you got Mo Green, you got myself. It's going to be a great show. Are you going to do a guest spot? I hope you're going to do a guest spot.
I'd love to.
All right. And Paul's going to be on the show too. So $20, or more donation. Hit it up on the page, and we'll put you on the guest list.
Absolutely. Where can they get tickets?
That's how they could get tickets.
So they just make the donation.
Make the donation. Your name will be on the donation. Your name will be, if you donate 20, your name will go on. If you donate 40, it'll be that name plus guest. Seating's limited. obviously, because of COVID, so act fast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And is there anything else you want to plug before we sign off?
Just every Wednesday we do the open mic here. So if you feel like whatever we talked about was interesting and you think you want to give it a shot, every Wednesday at 7 o'clock we do a mic
Right here on the stage.
That's right. Come check it out. Get your 5 minutes or whatever. Get here at 6:30 because it fills up. And then we're doing. We just recently decided to do Friday and Saturday shows. So we're gonna have Friday at 8, and Saturday at 7. So that'll be our weekend comedy feature. So
Nice.
So go to our website, elbowroomct.com. All the show dates are there, show info, you can buy tickets, all the stuff. All the information is on the website, elbowroomct.com.
Nice. Well, Paul, thank you for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.